Today on Video Mojo, we're going to talk about how having creative fun can help you stand out or rise above the blah, as my guest says, in the world of content and online marketing. So welcome Frank Prendergast to Video Mojo.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here.
And I also have like now a recurring theme, which is I seem to be talking to people all over the world, and I just love being a global citizen. So we will say that Frank is in Ireland. And I am here in Northern California as usual. And it's great to be able to talk to you, Frank. I think that we share a value around having fun. And that is I think a key component of Video Mojo. I got attracted to you and introduced to you from our mutual friend Ingrid Lil, the graphic designer and sketchnoter, visual thinker. And, so I think we should start with the fun a little bit. You're a content marketer. You and your wife and business partner, Marcy, have Frank and Marcy. It's frankandmarcy.com. And you said you're not an agency, you're a team. So You're a digital marketing team. So what role does fun play in content marketing?
I think it plays a huge role because I think, in order to rise above the blah, rising above the blah is all about creating content and putting yourself out into the world in a way that resonates with the right people and, from a business perspective, encourages them to buy from you. And I think that means you need to bring yourself fully to your marketing. And I think that if you're not having fun with it, it's just going to be a drudge and you're not going to do it. And, content is just critical these days in terms of visibility and getting people interested in what we do. So I think it's absolutely vital to be having fun. And also, life's too short not to be having fun with what you're doing, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, I have some experience with that outside the marketing world too, which is that I'm an amateur musician and play a little ukulele and sing from time to time. And I notice that when I'm having fun, the audience is having fun, regardless of how amateurish I am in terms of my musicianship. So I think that's kind of like I'll add to your answer. And then the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, did you want to say more about that? Go ahead.
Well, we could go off on a huge tangent here now, but I know myself and Marcy were watching the film Amsterdam the other day, and Christian Bale is in it, and you can tell he is having a ball in that film, and as a result, he is mesmerizing. You can't take your eyes off him. It's incredible. So I totally agree with you. When you're having fun, the audience is having fun.
Well, and then the other way that plays out, particularly with regard to video and Video Mojo, is having fun with video. And these days that means having fun with AI. And I think that, I know that part of the reason I wanted to interview you, and we're going to get into a little bit later, is some of your experiments that you've made creating little music videos. But before we even go there, I think there's this general fear of AI. And I, for one, and I think we share this commonality, so let's help people understand how much fun AI can actually be. So, talk to me a little bit about your relationship to AI and having fun versus being afraid and holding it at bay.
Yeah, okay, so this is fascinating, and there's a weird dichotomy here because because I am fascinated with AI, because I am having fun with AI, and because I'm exploring AI, I think people assume that I am, 100% pro AI and it's all great and it's all fantastic. The reason that I'm actually having fun with AI and the reason I'm exploring it is actually because of that fear. I'm a marketer. Marketing is one of the things that is going to be very high on the list when you read, what are the roles that AI is going to take over. And so for me, that fear is very real. And I feel that it's a kind of a case of, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I am going to embrace AI, figure out where this is all going. Am I going to be replaced? If I'm going to be replaced, when's it going to happen? When do I need to pivot? Where do I need to pivot to? What are the gaps that I can fill that AI can't possibly compete with me on? I think in the past I've put it as kind of, embrace AI but outwit it, certainly for as long as you can. I totally understand the fears. I think we are right to have those fears, but we just can't let those fears dominate us, and we need to figure out what our next steps are. And that's why I encourage everyone to explore, experiment, have fun, and figure out what's coming next.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that because I think I'm a lot the same in the sense that I'm a huge enthusiast and I'm having a great time, and anything that sparks joy for me, I want to amplify. And at the same time, I recognize that there are real dangers. Particularly, I'm concerned about misinformation, bad actors. I'm a little bit different than you in terms of the relationship to my work because I think that it amplifies my creativity and leverages my time so that I can be more productive, deliver communications for my clients that are clearer, and do that faster so I deliver more value in less time. So it helps me be a better marketer. So I'm not worried about it taking my job. I'm worried about keeping up with the state of the art of delivering valuable services.
Yeah, I don't think we're that different there either. I guess where we might differ is that I just think that's where we are right now. But I think this is the worst version of AI that we're ever going to see. So,
Correct.
so what happens as it gets better and better? I mean, there are very clearly tasks that I do for clients right now that AI can do, and that most of the time right now it's not actually replacing me because I'm actually using it, as you said, to become more efficient and to do some of those tasks, or at least to help me with some of those tasks. But as we move forward in the future, will those tasks actually just be taken from me by AI, the clients doing it directly with AI, and ultimately will we have a super intelligence that just completely replaces me? Possible.
I don't think. I mean, there's in a recent episode of Video Mojo, I talked to Frank Boyd about he said the research says that it gets you 70 or 80% of the way there. But without a human, I've been a creative director for many years, and I think that creative director of taking the output and refining it and making sure that it's on target. And we're going to get into a little bit of Midjourney and music and that kind of stuff. I love the way Midjourney gives me 4 images. And then I decide which one I want to re-roll and how I want to re-roll it and iterate and iterate and iterate till I get something that I'm happy with that I want to share with other people, if I do. I don't think that human component of the creative process can be replaced, at least not in my lifetime, which, might not be that long, but we'll see. And you want to add anything there? Go ahead.
Well, I'm reading a book. I'm reading it since January. I shouldn't admit that, but it's quite an intense book. So I'm reading short chunks at a time. But it's by Nick Bostrom and it's called Super Intelligence. And he's a philosopher, and he's looking at the different types of super intelligence that could be developed. So maybe I'm just reading too much Nick Bostrom. But I think that one possible future is definitely one where the human touch is not actually needed in certain domains.
Well, it's going to be interesting. And as long as we're doing books, I have started reading recently, but I'm certainly a slow reader also, by Mo Gawdat, Gawdat, called Scary Smart, which kind of feels like they're complementary titles. We have a double feature in the book department about the future of AI, and he's got he rides the double-edged sword of it. There's a lot to be afraid. It feels the thing that I want to say that has been coming up for me a lot recently. It feels a lot like climate change. We're seeing these climate disasters now, obviously at an increasing rate, and global warming and so forth. And I think AI is a runaway train. It's out of control. It's beyond as far as I can tell, any government's capacity to actually put reasonable guardrails on it. I'm in favor of the guardrails, just to state the politically obvious, but I just don't think the governments are up to it. That's just my opinion. But neither of them is going to go away, right? Climate change is not the climate and the planet are what we're living in, and technologically speaking, AI is the tsunami that we're living in, and nothing's going to slow it down. So you might as well surf it, like you were talking about earlier. That would be my metaphor.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there as well, and I think similar in the vein of you can't let that fear dominate you, and you just have to be aware, and you have to, I suppose, support any initiatives that help put those frameworks in place and those regulations in place.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's pivot back to the fun.
Yeah,
You did an experiment that I had never seen anybody else do. Why don't you describe what you did in terms of working with images, turning them into video characters, adding music? You kind of did instant music video like I've never seen anybody do. So tell us what you did.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. And again, it was, it was an experiment. It was a happy accident. It was, uh, I use Midjourney, which is an AI image generator.
I'm also a
Um,
big fan.
and I was actually trying to get Midjourney to create VHS distortion on images, and I didn't really succeed with that. I got a little bit of the way, but I think Midjourney likes to be too pretty to to give me quite the distortion that I was looking for. But as I was putting in these prompts, I was getting these. I was putting in like 80s VHS and prompts like that, and so I was getting these images back that I started to see a pattern in them and started to think, wow, it looks like a kind of a really weird retro 80s music video. And I was thinking to myself, it looks like a music video for something that might be on the soundtrack to Drive, for example. Um, and then I just thought, actually, maybe I can just create one. Maybe I can use AI tools to create a weird retro 80s music video. So I took the images and I created a piece of music. Well, I didn't create a piece of music. AI created a piece of music. Found a tool called beatbot.fm, and it's a generative AI but for music. So you can put in a prompt and it'll give you back a short snippet of a song based on your prompt. So again, I put in something like, I don't remember the exact prompt, 80s, retro 80s synth pop, something like that, a song about videotapes. It wrote the lyrics, it wrote the music, it sang the lyrics over the music. Incredible, just amazing. So now I had still images and I had music. So the next step was to turn those images into videos. So I used d-id.com, where you can upload an image as an avatar, and then it will make it say the words you wanted to say. So what I did was I recorded a clean track of me kind of saying the lyrics in time to the music, just so that DID would have a kind of a clean track to work from and not be confused by the music. And I used that to animate the images to be speaking the lyrics of the song, but in perfect time with the song. Then I just popped into a video editor, popped in the multiple videos of these now mouthing images, timed it to the music, and boom, I had a little 30-second retro weird 80s music video.
It's truly amazing what you did there, there are a couple things that come up immediately. One is you had a happy accident. I'm a big fan of creative fun. That's what we're talking about here. I think that's how Video Mojo happens. You were playing and looking for one thing, it didn't happen, and this crazy accident happened. So, bravo to you for following the muse and letting that happen. Do you want to say any more about that?
Well, I love it because one of the things I've been thinking about a lot recently is about whether AI could democratize creativity, because when I'm working with clients and I'm helping them to either create better content or even become content creators for the first time, I hear, a lot. I think I hear a lot is, but I'm just not really creative. So first of all, I never believe that. I don't believe that. I just think, as human beings, we are creative. The difference between people is just skill sets. So everybody has an imagination. Everybody, but not everybody has the skill sets to take what's in their imagination and bring it into the real world. Now with AI, AI gives you that skill set. I can imagine the most craziest thing, and I might not have the skill set to paint it as an oil painting, but I can now prompt it and see my vision through Midjourney. So I think that there's huge potential there. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of creative people are concerned. A lot of creative people are kind of pushing away from AI. But I think it could be a wonderful, wonderful thing to actually open up creativity to everybody.
Yeah, it's a great democratizing force. I refer back also to the other Video Mojo interview with David Boyle, because the rights issue is one of the reasons that I think a lot of creative people push back, not the least of which, at least as we're recording, is the Hollywood, both the writers and the actors strikes that are going on. But Boyle made the point. So what I want to talk to you about, how do you feel about the fact that AI is using other creative works, at least currently, without any compensation to the source artists? But along the lines of democratization, Boyle made the point he doesn't think that artists should be able to opt out of the creative pool because of how empowering AI creativity is going to be to the developing world, and the ability of people who don't have access to the resources that we have in the developing world to, for example, to be able to write in the English language in a clear, concise way. AI is hugely empowering, just to give one example, but I think it plays out through all of the creative mediums.
Yeah, I mean, it's a absolutely fascinating question. And honest answer, I actually don't know how I feel, because on one hand, you analyze it and you think that AI is really doing the same thing that humans do. It's we all have a lived experience. We've all read X number of books. We've all seen X number of paintings. And, if you're creative, of course, all those sources play into the output. But then where it gets hazy is the intentionality of putting somebody's work into a tool for that purpose. So honestly, I don't know how I feel. I pity the judges who are trying to tease this apart for the cases that are currently before the courts. And I think that all we can do is see how those cases play out and see how the best copyright minds and the best minds in that area actually manage to tease this apart. I have mixed feelings on it. So yeah, I'm honestly just not sure, and I'm just going to be really curious how it plays out. I do think that there's going to be a massive impact on our concept of creative ownership, one way or the other, because originally my feelings were, as a human, I am prompting the AI, and that should be enough human input for me to have ownership of the output. But then it was pointed out to me in a podcast or an article I read or something that then you could potentially have a huge corporation, maybe even have one AI come up with endless prompts and another AI come up with endless generations, and then own all of that material. So you could very quickly own an infinite amount of creative material. You could copyright every possible melody. You could copyright every possible film plot. I don't know. And so it's very, very complicated. And one way or the other, we're going to have corporations wanting to have ownership over what they create. They are going to want to use AI tools to speed up their processes, speed up workflows, and create work, but they are going to want to have ownership over it. But should they have ownership over it, it gets very, very tricky. And so is it possible that this is going to upend how we think of creative ownership? And is creative ownership going to become much less important than the actual work that you have created itself, and potentially just not having that same sense of ownership? Again, I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm absolutely fascinated to see what direction it goes in.
It is. It's fascinating, and I think those dimensions of both the ethical dilemma of, kind of like the double-edged sword of what happens with these rights, and just the massive disruption. I think you did a good job of underscoring how disruptive these technologies are. And I don't think that most people, and in fact, I think even as somebody who thinks and lives within playing with these tools myself, can even comprehend the scope of the disruption. It's like so huge that this stuff is just happening so fast. It's mind bending. So yeah, and meanwhile we get to surf this giant wave. We can't fall down and drown, as far as I know. So let's come back again to the creative fun. The other aspect as a marketer that I want to talk to you about, which is very near and dear to my heart, is the human dimension. So I think one of the darkest things I saw this week was a news article about TV in India is now using AI generated, just like your D-ID character that you put in the music video, but more kind of like true to life, less stylized, news anchors, AI generated news anchors who are reading the news and look very, very close to actual human beings. And as an advocate for video, I'm always talking about, we're making eye contact here. We get to know each other and experience our humanity through video in a way that we can't in any other media. So do you have any comments about the humanity that helps us rise above the blah alongside artificially generated people and other things?
Yeah, I mean, so right now, the moment that we are still in right now, I think that humanity is vital, and learning to use AI, but to layer on your own humanity, your own point of view, is really important right now, and is extremely valuable right now in terms of your content resonating with people. Again, like we were saying earlier, AI is going to get much, much better at emulating a lot of that. It's never going to have your true personal stories, of course, but it's going to get much better at emulating, different emotions, at writing more evocatively. And it's going to get better at creating AI avatars that are, indistinguishable from humans. So yes, it's all going to get very, very tricky. And I think trust in the source is going to become what is going to really, set content, people who are trying to market themselves through content, that trust in the source is going to become critical, because the last thing we want is that feeling of bait and switch, where you think you're dealing with content from a human, and actually you discover that you've been engaging with a robot, you've been reacting to a robot. And so the difficulty is going to be, in this sea of content, how do you actually get out there and convince people that it's you, that it's you they are dealing with, that it is genuinely a human, particularly when right now a lot of the time we're still thinking in binary terms of like AI or human, and most of our content is going to be some percentage of AI, I think, ultimately. And so it's going to become a case of like, how do you make that personal bond with someone so that it's like, yeah, I trust John. I know that when I see him in video, it is actually John in the video. It's not actually the AI avatar John.
Yes, it's me. It's me.
And I think these are just problems that we're going to have to figure out how to solve. And, are we going to see Are we going to see a bit of a kind of a niching down, as in we've always kind of thought of the internet as being like, yeah, get out to this huge swathe of people, which was, you know, it was probably always a bit of a false promise. You know, people come to us for digital marketing thinking that they can just reach all these people who are dying to buy from them, which of course, you know, that's never the case. You have to build that trust. You have to bring people on the journey. You have to bring them along the buyer's journey until they are finally actually ready to engage with you and purchase from you. So in a way, everything changes, but everything remains the same. But we might see this narrowing down where we need to actually make more effort to make genuinely one-to-one connections with people that trust us and become part of our audience and go on that journey with us.
Yeah, it's really well said. You know, and I think there's a couple different things there. God, there's a bunch of things, but I guess the first thing I want to talk about. So I talk about in terms of trust and video, people getting to know you and having that authenticity, right? And that the issue that it's almost like yesterday's news, but let's say today's world, is that the bullshit meters have gone way up. I think that the hucksters out there, the get-rich-quick schemers that have given internet marketing a bad name, you know, people's bullshit meters to block that stuff out and go, oh, God, I just don't want to work with that kind of person, is at an all-time high. But now, as you just alluded to, there's a whole new threshold, which is what are you doing with AI? And what came to mind for me was Elise Myers. Do you know who she is? She's a big TikToker, and she has a tremendous vulnerability and authenticity. I mean, she does things with her makeup off, and she's currently pregnant and dealing with emotions, and she just shares her journey, as you just said, in a beautiful, authentic way that it'll be certainly a long time before AI can generate the degree of emotion and personal connection that she creates. I highly recommend her as a TikToker, and I'll put her link in the description below. Anyway, it's really a big issue.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, and as you said, the AI tools are, yes, there is a kind of an upfront investment in getting to understand them and know how to use them, but ultimately they are going to make your life so much easier, speed up your workflows, and you know, time is the huge issue for everyone in content creation. And we have found that in certain types of content, AI can reduce that time by like up to 80%.
Yeah, and the other, we can circle back, and I think this is kind of like maybe button it up, is that, you know, it's like you only will do the marketing that you enjoy. And besides the fact that the audience will enjoy you having fun, if you're having fun, for me, I'm noticing, because I do put more pressure on myself to create more content than I am capable of creating and continuing. That's like an ongoing process for me. But, you know, I'm doing things in Midjourney now and having fun publishing them on the web just because it's fun for me to create images in Midjourney, and I enjoy that form of artistic expression, although some people will say I'm not an artist because I'm using AI, but I beg to differ, and so does my wonderful Midjourney community on Twitter. So there.
Absolutely, yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's a really interesting point about the thinking of yourself as an artist, and that whole question is fascinating. I have a friend who does incredible work on Midjourney but feels no ownership over the images. Personally, I am like you. I absolutely feel ownership over them because of the, you know, crafting of the prompts and the curation. I very much feel like they are my creations.
It's nice. I love that the prompt is /imagine too, because we're bringing forth our imagination. Well, it's great to get to meet you and talk to you, Frank. So the coordinates are Frank and Marcy, MARCI.com, for your marketing team, and they're brilliant content marketing consultants and strategists, and will help you implement strategies. Anything else you want people to point to? I know you're active on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. We love connecting with people on LinkedIn. That's my primary social media. I just that's where I have the best conversations and meet people like yourself. That's how we got to know each other. So I would love if people would connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message and connect with Marcy as well. And Marcy actually has a great. If you go to Marcy's profile, she actually has a great email sequence on optimizing your landing pages for anyone who's interested in that. And yes, I'd love to chat with people on LinkedIn.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you again. Keep being creative. Keep having those, wonderful, crazy, creative accidents and experiments. I appreciate your adventurousness, and again, great to meet you, Frank. Thanks for being on Video Mojo.
You too. Thanks a million for inviting me on, and I've loved this. This has been great. We went deep on some of those topics.
Yeah, good fun. One more thing before you go. If you enjoyed this episode of Video Mojo, I really want to recommend this interview with David Boyle. We also talked about creativity and fun and this exciting yet challenging new world of AI and creativity and marketing. It's a very powerful interview. I think David is a great spokesperson for how to leverage AI. He's actually been helping me use AI better. So check it out, and we'll see you next time.